Hello guys, welcome to today's video. And in today's video we are going to be looking at selection and masking. But before we dive into selection and masking, let's just go through some of the common problems you guys have been facing so far after seeing your designs, and for those who have been submitting and I've noticed some common issues. So let's just get to those issues quickly, then get to today's session. Alright, so I'll create a new document, landscape and this. So I've noticed that most of you guys, whenever you want to bring in pictures to Photoshop, what you do is you go to File, you go to Open, then you are now trying to drag a photo from here and drop into Photoshop. This method is not going to work. It's not going to work at all. Alright. So for those of you who have been doing this, whenever you want to bring in a photo or an image to Photoshop, just come to your, do not go to File and Open. No, don't do that. Just go to your File Explorer down here, right? Click on that and just look for the image you want to use. When you find the image you want to use, just click on it and drag into Photoshop. Just give it some time and it's going to be brought in like this. Okay, then you can accept. Now the second problem I noticed is this. Most of you, I think this happens mostly to those using Photoshop 2020 and below. When you want to transform this image, so you click on Show Transform Controls, right? I told you guys that when you're transforming, it's important to keep your proportions in place. What I mean is this image here has a length and a width, right? So let's say this is the length here and this is the width. So when you're transforming the image, those proportions are supposed to be kept in place. So let's say the length here is 7, right? And the width is, let's say, 4. I'm just giving some values here. So let's say the length of this image here is 7, right? Like this. And the width here of this image here is 4. When you're transforming this image, so let's say that means the ratio of this of the length to the width is 7:4, right? When you're transforming the image, the ratio has to be the same throughout. What I mean is this. So if I drop this image here, right, to something smaller like this, if you take this length divided by this width, the ratio should still be the same. Should still give you the same value as 7:4. Okay. In case you have not understood what I've said, this is actually what I'm saying. When you're transforming your image, right, always make sure that when you click here and you drag, the length and the width are being increased proportionally. Both length and width are increased, right? And for those who encounter this issue, I explain those who have Photoshop 2020 and below. So this is what happens. So when you click, let's say when you click somewhere here, for example, right, and you drag, this is what happens. The image is, so you now see that we are scaling just the width and not the length. So it's messing up the proportion of our design. Okay, avoid doing this. You might also do from this end here. You see, it's messing up the proportions of our design. Avoid doing this. So for those of you, whenever you try to scale and you see this happening, just do Ctrl-Z to go back. Then hold Shift on your keyboard, Shift, and you click and drag. So this is for those who are using Photoshop 2020 and below. Yes. So when you try to transform, I noticed that it's happening like this. It's been messed up like this, right? Always just do Ctrl-Z to go back, then hold Shift when you're transforming. I now see it's scaling both length and width. together like that. This happens with text as well. So let's say I write some text here like this, right? I'm sure you guys know we can also transform text. Let me just make this bold. So let's say I have some text like this, right? I can transform this text by just getting this show transform controls, and I can click and drag. So notice it's increasing the length and the width at the same time. Not this. I noticed some of you were doing things like this. Now you see you're messing up the proportions of this particular object by increasing just the width instead, or by increasing just the height like this. Avoid doing things like this. So when you notice this happening, just do Ctrl Z to go back, then you hold Shift. So again, this is purely for those using Photoshop 2020 and below. Alright, I'm hoping this makes sense to everybody. Okay, so that's what I just wanted to point out before proceeding with today's session. Okay, so move on to selection and masking, right? So what do we mean by masking? So let's start with masking. What do you mean by the term masking? Masking simply means to hide a particular portion of something. Okay, for those of you who go to parties and let's say we have parties like max parties, parties where you put on mask, right? And you're basically hiding your face. Okay, so masking simply means to hide a portion of something. And this is how we get started with this in Photoshop. So let's create a new document for now. So I'm going to create a new document, and I want an A4 document, and I want a landscape, not portrait. So I'll click on orientation here, and I'll select this one to have it landscape, and I'll click on create. So I've created a new A4 document like this, right? Then I want to bring in an image. So I'll just go here. I'm going to bring in an image. So let me just drag in this from right File Explorer, and I'll bring in this guy like so. Notice that when I bring him in, a new layer is added here, just for emphasis sake. Okay, I'm sure you guys already know this. Now, I want to hide the background. Okay, so you can say you want to mask out this guy from the background, right? Basically, you want to hide the background. Now, I'm going to show you the wrong way to get this done. Then I'll show you the right way to get this done. Okay. Now, just make sure you have this image selected like this, and you see the layer selected. Then come right down here to these icons down here in the layering system. You're going to see your recycle bin. You see your add new layer icon. You see your create new folder icon. You're going to see adjustment layer icon. Then beside that, you're going to see a mask icon. Okay, so it says add layer mask. Now, before we click on that, look at this layer here. Just notice what we have on this layer. Let me just rename this layer to man for now, but you must not do that. So notice we have the thumbnail of this layer here. Then we have the name of the layer here, that's all. But when we click on mask, just notice how something is going to be added here. Okay, let's pay attention to that. So when I click on mask, now remember I'm clicking on mask only because I have the layer selected, okay? So when I click on mask like this, now you notice something has been added here. So this thing that has been added is what we call a layer mask. So we have added a mask to this layer. Okay. And what do we mean by mask? Masking is just basically you hiding stuff, right? Yes, hiding stuff. So we had this layer before, and just do Ctrl Z to go back. Or I can go to my history panel by going to window and go to history. You see all of the things I've done before. So I can just go one step backward like that. Okay. Then I can close this up. So how do I add the mask again? I just come here and click on this icon here, right? And I have my mask like this. So I can decide to select my mask by just clicking on this thumbnail here. And you guys can notice that it's already selected because you see the little square box around it like that. If I click on this other one here, my mask is no longer selected. This is very important for you to know. When I click here, my mask is now selected because you can see the highlight on it, the little white box on it. Okay, if I click on this other portion here, my mask is no longer selected. Okay, now when it comes to masking or when it comes to hiding stuff, you always need to make sure that when you create this empty mask here, always make sure that your mask is selected. Very important before you can mask. Okay, I'm sure that makes sense. Now, which tool do you use to mask things up? So after you've created this mask here, you would use your brush tool. So you're going to brush on this mask here. So you brush on this guy here, but making sure that the mask is selected first. So let me just illustrate. So I'll get my brush tool, which is B on the keyboard. This is the tool here. You can just press B on your keyboard and you have it selected. Then I'll right click on it. I'll make sure I have the first one selected. Not any of these ones there, but just the first one, okay? Click on brush tool and I have something like this, right? And when you select your brush tool, you have these options up here, which are brush options, all right? I'm sure this makes sense to everybody, right? Now, whenever you select your brush tool and have your mark selected, so I've selected my brush tool, B on the keyboard, and have your mark selected like this, very important. Then make sure you set this your colors into black and white. How do you set them to black and white by default? Just you will see a little, when you see this big one here, right? This are color pickers down here. Just go up a little bit, you see a little icon there, which is white and black. Just click on it like so, and it's going to set your default colors. Our default colors are always black and white. Then if you want to switch the colors, you can use this little arrow symbol here by clicking on it to toggle between two colors like that. Okay, so let me just get back to my move tool. We can move this guy around like this. Then so we want to now brush on the areas we do not want. So we want to hide those areas. Okay, so we need to get our brush tool to hide those areas. So take B on the keyboard like that, B on your keyboard. So we now have our brush like this, okay? And make sure you have the mask here selected, very important. If you do not have the mask selected, you're going to have this icon like this, okay? Especially if this your especially since your image was brought in as a smart object. We'll talk about it later on. So get my brush on the keyboard, make sure I have this mask here selected like so. I'm really emphasizing on this mask selected like this. Then let's drop the size per brush. You can see the brush is too big. All right, so how do you adjust your brush? There are two ways to do that. When you have your brush selected, you can right click anywhere on the screen like that, and you have this brush settings here where you can drop the size of the brush. When you drop, just point outside and you see the new size. You can come back inside, increase, point outside, increase, point outside, nice. You see the new size, okay? Like so. Or the second way to get that done is just come up here. We have your brush selected. Come to the brush options here, and you see these options here. So you click on this one here. After you stay home here, you see this other icon here. After that, you see this one here. Click on that drop down and you see the same thing I just showed you guys. So the size of the brush and the hardness of the brush. I'll talk about hardness very soon. Then for now, always make sure that you have your mode to normal, opacity to 100%, flow to 100%, okay? Very important. So let's come back here. Now you see, when I come here, I see this little icon here because my layer is not selected and my mask is not selected. So I'll click on the mask and I have the layer selected and the mask selected as well, okay? So I come with my brush here. Now, notice our hardness is 100%, right? So let me start brushing. So I'm brushing on the sections I want to take away like this. Are you seeing? See how soft it is? This because my hardness is at 0. The brush is not hard. It's a soft brush. For those doing makeup, I think you understand what I'm saying by hardness and softness, right? So if I click here and turn my hardness to 100% like this, see how hard the brush becomes. Do you see? I'm just zooming. Are you seeing how hard the brush is now? But if I take my hardness to 0%, I can drop the hardness. See how soft the brush becomes. So sometimes you might want to use a soft brush. Sometimes you might want to use a hard brush. Okay, something like this. So I'm just basically hiding portions of this particular image now. All right. So just brushing out portions like this. So this is basically what masking is. And it's not like I'm deleting. No, I'm hiding. So as I'm brushing. Now, let's go back to this mask here. While we are brushing, go back to the mask. You will notice some portions of this mask here are hidden like this. Are you seeing? Now, for I forgot to explain to mention something. Let's look down here. Always make sure that your brush is set to black. This top corner is set to black. So you can click on this one here. Then we switch to black like this. Okay, before you start brushing. So when you brush with black, it's to hide. like this. When you brush with white, so if you switch up, brush with white is to bring it back. Are you seeing? I'm brushing on white. I'm bringing in back what I took away. Okay, so we were not deleting. We're just hiding stuff, and that's what masking does. When you put on the mask, you're just hiding a portion of your face temporarily. You can always remove the mask. Okay. So again, we have the mask here selected. You get your brush tool. Then if you want to hide a particular portion of an image, you switch up to black like that. So my color here is on black now. The foreground color here is on black, so I can hide with black. And when I brush with black like this, I can hide. So you see, I've even brushed out his face like that. And if you look at if we look at the mask here, let me just quickly show you guys something. Let's see. How do I make this thing bigger? Just for this purposes. Okay, like this. So you see that some portions are in black, right? Those portions that are in black on our mask indicate the areas of that layer that are hidden. Okay, so I'm just basically hiding portions of the guy like that. Then if I want to bring in those portions I've hidden, simple, just switch back here to what? White. Okay, and you can bring in those portions back like this. So I was not deleting, I was just hiding portions I don't need, right? Like this. Then let me go back to black again. And so let's try to hide just the background of this guy here. And this is actually going to be very time consuming. And this is not how we are going to be selecting people out from backgrounds. The purpose of me doing this now is to explain what masking is. I'll show you better ways to get stuff like this done in Photoshop. Okay, how to select out of backgrounds done. Yeah, so we just roughly brush the guy like this, brush the background. And you can always drop the size of your brush by clicking and dropping like this. You point out to see that's what you want. Then make it a good habit to zoom in as well. Okay, so just brush it out like that. Again, as I was saying, this is not how we're going to be removing people from a background. Okay, the purpose of this is just to explain the concept of masking first. Right, very important. So I'm just going to recap this one more time before I proceed to what selection is. So I'll delete this and bring it back. So how do you select and mask? So we bring in an image like this, right? Masking, how do you mask? On my move to, I can adjust this as I want, like this. I can transform if I want to transform it, right? So mask out something. The first thing is you create a mask. Let's say we don't have a mask here, right? I'll click on this icon here. It creates a mask on this particular layer, right? I get my brush tool and I set my brush to which color? Black here. Okay, so I'll go to my brush tool and I set this to black here. And I can now increase the size like this. And I can now decide to hide the sections I want to hide, okay? Like this. So I've hidden the sections I want to hide. And get my white back and bring in what I want to bring in, like that. Okay, I can make the brush hard or soft. So if I make the brush hard now, it becomes this hard. So now I have white, that's why it's revealing things. So I'll just come back here and take black. Again, black is to hide portions and white is to reveal portions, okay? So I'm just hiding now with black. I'm sure this makes sense to everybody. So again, black hides, white reveals, and this is working only because I have this layer, this mask here selected. If I click here, if this mask is not selected, if I come here, notice we have this icon here. And when you click on it, if we click, it says this smart object must be rasterized for proceeding. Do not click OK, cancel. Always make sure you have your mask selected before you brush on it. I'm going to talk on what rasters are later on. We'll actually spend some time on masking. Okay, so that's that for what masking is. So I'm going to delete this guy. Now let's look at what selection is. So the better way to have images selected or to have the background of images removed in Photoshop is to have a selection first, then you now mask out. Create a mask from the selection. Okay, so have a selection first, then you can create a mask from the selection and you have something like this. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how I've gotten something like this done. Okay, so how have I gotten this done? So in Photoshop, we have what we call selection tools, right? And the very basic selection tool we have here is the quick selection tool. So I'll just reset this. So I've brought in this image and I've not done anything to it. We currently have no mask on it here, right? So how do we select portions? So we use our selection tool here, our quick selection tool. So when you press W on the keyboard, you have it selected like this. And when you right click on the group of selection tools, you see there are 3 of them. Okay. For now, let's select the quick selection tool. So quick selection tool. We'll select that quick selection tool like that. Okay. Now when you have that tool selected, if you look at the tools bar up here or the tools option here, you would see we have a few things there, right? Then the ones I want us to pay attention to is we have select subject, then we have select and mask. Okay, so in this particular video, I'm going to focus on select object, right? Yeah, so when you have this select object here, okay, just click on this select object. So Photoshop is going to do the job of selecting for you. So give it some time and Photoshop will do a selection for you. And notice Photoshop has done a selection for you. You now see these matching ants around it. I'm sure you guys can see that here. So look around this guy, you now see the matching ants around it. So what Photoshop has done is Photoshop has created a selection for you, okay? So it has selected this guy for you, what it thinks is the subject in this image, all right? And after that selection has been done, you can now create a mask from this selection. So what happens is when you create a mask from this selection, Photoshop keeps only what was selected and hides what was not selected. So the only thing selected here is this guy. This other portions outside are unselected. And how do you know this guy is selected? You see this matching ants around him like that, okay? So seeing this has been selected, you can just come here and click on your create mask icon here. Click on that. And you now see Photoshop has hidden everything on the background and kept just him here. Makes sense, right? So if you look at the mask, if you look at the layer here, you would see that the mask has a black portion and a white portion. And the portion in white is the portion that is being revealed, and the portion in black here is the portion that is being hidden. I'm sure this makes sense. So I'm going to do this again. So I'll bring in another image. I'll bring in this one here, like that, and I'll accept. So how do you take away this background here, right? How do you take away that background? Very simple. So what you do is you get your quick selection tool, okay, by pressing W on your keyboard, or come and click here, right? So what we'll select this one in the quick selection tool, this one in the video here for now. That's the one we'll start with. Then click on select subject. So most times Photoshop is going to do a good job, and you now have to refine the selection. We are going to see what refining a selection is, okay? So we have this. So you notice Photoshop has done a good job for us, and I'll re-emphasize this. This matching ants here always show the regions that have been selected. So the matching ants enclose the region selected. So in our case here, it has selected what? This guy, okay? So if you just zoom in, you just scroll around, see it has this guy selected like that. So when you have this done, you can now create your mask from the selection, and Photoshop is going to keep just the portion that was part of the selection, okay? So if I come here and I click here, so you see Photoshop keeps just that for me and it hides the background. So what can I do now? I can come here and create a new solid color by clicking on this adjustment layer icon down here. Go to solid. I'm sure I showed you guys last time. Solid color, and I can change to, let's say, a version of green. Yeah, let's try blue and see. Okay, version of green. Let's say this. Then I bring the layer down. So notice that's created this layer above. I'll bring it down like this, drag down, right? And we have something like this. I can get my move tool, and I can move this guy around. I can even transform him, make him a little bit bigger, okay? So I can transform him like this. Yeah. Can do something like this. Then I can even decide to add some text. So I can see. So I can just write bigger things. Clicks. Give me a seal. I can just do something like this, new things loading, okay. Drop that, and do all that caps like that. And drop the leaded, so drop this a little bit low. Yeah, like this. Now something like that. So can even change the color of this text here to something like this. Okay. So I can have something as simple as this. Then I can even decide how to bring in some shapes. So I can say draw a circle. I'm sure you guys really know how to get that done. So I'll draw a perfect circle like this. And I'll send it behind him. So how do you get that behind him? You just drag the layer of the shape here. Drag it down like that. So you have this circle here. You can change the color if you want to change the color. By either going to fill or changing here, or you double click on this little icon down here. So let's change the color to something like, let's see, white. Okay, let's try white here. White makes some sense. And I'll take away the stroke. I don't want the stroke here. Let's see if I increase. So now I'm just trying to be creative about this stuff. If I do something like this, okay. So again, it's just a perfect circle. Then can adjust the guy. Can bring this around. Yeah, it's just doing some stuff, right? So again, the main idea is to remove the background first, then you can play around with whatever you have here. Okay, I should drop this a little bit. I should just do something like this. Increase the size of new, then select things loading and drop the size a little bit like that. Then play around with the general and that, yeah. Okay, so stuff like this. All right. I'm sure this makes sense. So this is how those things you always see are being done. Okay, this is how things like that are done. So let's recap. How do you mask out something in Photoshop? Okay, so I'm just going to delete all of this for now. Let's get another image. Let's see this one. So if you guys notice, I'm mostly bringing in individuals, trying to select individuals from an image, okay? Yeah. And one other thing you guys should have noticed is that the individuals are mostly in a background that is not too busy. As the first thing. Like if you see most of these individuals, the backgrounds of the images are not too busy, right? What I mean by busy is that they don't have so many things happening in the background, or they do not have other people in the image with them, okay? Right, because we are going to spend like close to 5 sessions only on selection and masking, because it's a very important topic in Photoshop, very important. Okay, so I brought in this other guy here. How do you remove him from the background? Very simple. What do we do again? We always have our selection first before we create our mask. Okay, so we go to our quick selection tool here. Yes, we get this one, the quick selection tool here. Click on select subject. So I'll be showing you guys how to refine your selection in another video. I'll be showing you guys how to use other selection tools and techniques in different another video as well. So you see, I've clicked on this here, and you might also want to have this enhanced edge here checked. Okay, so I clicked on that, and I have now something like this selected for me. Okay, then I can now click on create mask. Now there are some times that this is not going to be perfect. The selection Photoshop will do for you, because Photoshop is automatically selecting some portions of the object for us, right? Sometimes the selection Photoshop gives us not going to be a perfect one, so we would have to refine the selection ourselves before creating a mask. Okay, so there are 2 things involved. The first thing is this: you create your selection first, have your selection refined before you do a mask, because as we saw from the start of this video, trying to just mask out things by brushing is not a good idea at all. You always have to have a selection first, a good selection, before you can now create your mask from that selection. Okay. And how do you get that done? So when you have your selection active like this, and how do you get the selection active? You go to quick selection tool and click on select subject here like that. Photoshop is going to do the work for you and select it. So what it thinks is the subject of this particular image, which is this guy here. Then we click on our mask icon down here, which is this one. If you look down here, we have several icons here. So from the very right, we have recycle bin, new layer icon, new folder icon, new adjustment layer icon. Then we have add layer mask. So this is what we're clicking. And before we click that, always make sure that you have your layer selected. So if you have no layer selected here, for example, and you come to your quick selection tool, notice we have this select subject grayed out. It's not available because you have no layer selected. Okay, so click on the layer you want, that's this guy here. Then you can take select subject like that. Sure that makes sense to everybody? Okay, so you have him selected now like that. Then you can now create your mask from that. Makes sense? Okay, so then bring in another image. Let's just try other images. Let's bring in this box here. I think Photoshop is still going to do a good job here because we have a very simple background. So whenever we have a simple background, Photoshop will really do a good job using this its select option here. So let's click on select subject here. So it's using what we call Adobe Sensei to get the selection done. You can just go that Adobe Sensei to have these good selections like this. It's the AI model. Okay, so click on this and you see that's a perfect selection. All right, and you have that done. If you look at our mask here, we have these black and white to indicate the portions that are hidden and the portions that are included. And in case for some reason you want to bring back portions that are hidden, okay, make sure you have your mask selected like this. Get your brush tool on the keyboard, or you can come here and select your brush tool. Then you get your colors here are going to be black and white, right? Switch it up to white, so the foreground color should be white. And if you brush with white, it brings back the color, okay, like that. Do you see? I'm brushing here white, it's bringing back the colors. Try this makes sense. Okay. Now let me show you how to create your own selections. So far we have been allowing the job to Photoshop to do the selections for us, right? Now we want to create our own selection. So we want to bring in our images like this. Then we want to bring in the images like this. Then do the selections ourselves. So this is what I mean. Instead of going to the quick selection tool and clicking on select subject here, we want Photoshop to allow us do the selection ourselves. So now when I click on select subject, Photoshop perfectly selects the subject for us, right? If we go around it, we see it's looking okay, right? Like that. If I create this, it does a good job for me. Okay, though it still needs some refinement, like the edges need some refinement. We'll look at this later on in our video. Like if you look at this head here, you see it's very rough up here. So don't bother about this. We'll look at this in tomorrow's video, how to refine our selections. Okay, like this. So how do we create? So I've just basically let me go back. Let's see. So I had this here. Yes. So let's say whenever you have your mask done like that, right? You can always delete your mask. That's what I did. So how do you get to delete your mask? You can just right click on the mask itself, right? And you can take delete layer mask, and it's going to delete the mask for you, and you're left with this. So how do we get to select this guy, this man of God here, right? Without using Photoshop's automatic selection, subject selection. So let's click on layer here. Now make sure you are on the quick selection tool, okay? Make sure you're on that. Then if you look here, you will see you have a plus and you have a minus. All right. Then if you come here, right, you would notice you have something similar to a brush. So how do you increase the size of it? Just come here and let's see, where do you increase size first off? Okay, you can use your bracket keys on the keyboard. These keys here. So you have this and this. Your square bracket keys on the keyboard. I'm just going to show you that. Yeah, these two keys here, like that. So the first one, which is the square bracket open, is to drop the size of your brush, of your quick selection tool. then the bracket close is to increase the size. So this is what I'm saying. So let me just select layer of this image here, right? When I select my quick selection tool here, select this tool here, and I'm making sure is this one selected, not object selection, not magic wand, but quick selection tool. Okay, that's selected. When I point it, I have this little stuff like a brush. It's not a brush, it's a selection tool. So how do you increase the size of that selection tool? You can use those arrow keys. These bracket keys I've shown here. This one is to drop the size, or this one is to increase the size. Or you can just come here where you have this little thing here, up here. Click on this drop down and you see the same thing here. Now this is not a brush, it's different. Okay, this is your selection tool. So you can always increase and point outside to see the size. Increase, point outside to see the size. I think I like this size. Okay. Now, when you come now and just click any one screen, just click once and allow. So Photoshop has now started doing the selection for you. Okay, click once and allow. Click once and allow. So it's kind of helping you select what needs to be selected based on pixel evaluation. So it's evaluating the pixels around. Like it's looking at the color here, looking at the color here. Okay, these two colors are different. This means that this might be different from this and stuff like that. Okay. So it's basically evaluating pixels around, and it's arriving to a conclusion on what to select I want to select. So I'm just clicking around, click and hold, click and wait, click and allow. So let me zoom in a little bit. Come down here, click and allow. Okay, now that's too much. Since I've selected too much, how do I remove this thing here? So if you come up here, notice that this thing is on plus here, right? I can take minus here, then drop the size of my brush, of my selection tool, not the brush. This is not the brush, this is selection tool. Can click here to drop the size like that. Yes, like this. And can go back to my plus, add this, yeah, like that. Okay, and I think this is okay now. All right, then I can create my mask for me. You see, right? So let me just delete this and bring in another image. So then bring in the image we used before this one. So instead of letting Photoshop do the job, which you want to let Photoshop do the job most of the times, just get your tool here, get this one, zoom in. And again, for those asking, but let's refine the selection now. Don't bother, we're going to do that tomorrow. Okay. So I'm just basically clicking and allow. I click allow, or you can click and drag. But I really know how to click and drag because I think Photoshop is smart enough to know what to select when I just click once. Okay. So I can click once, I can set drop the size of my brush. Now if I do it, like now see I've brushed outside, it's very simple. Just get the minus here, like this, and you can come and take away this one by clicking on the portions you want to take away, right, like that. Okay, you can drop the size of the brush and zoom inside like this. We can take that away. All right, so that's how you get basic selections like this done. So the normal case is that you just come here, get your selection tool, your quick selection tool, which is this one here, then take select subject like that. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to look at how to refine the selections, how to make the selections really looking good, then also how to look at other selection tools as well. All right, so we're going to spend like close to 5 days on selection and masking, because it's a very, very, very important topic in Photoshop. Selection and masking, it's very, very important. Okay, I'm sure that makes sense to everybody. So just to recap, how do you select and mask? So what's masking? Basically, you hiding stuff, right? You hiding portions of something. So what's selection? Selection is you choosing a particular portion of something. So let's say we bring in this guy here, and I've shown you guys that the workflow is this. Instead of creating your mask directly, that sometimes you want to create your mask first, as I've done now. Get your brush tool like this, then get black here and brush. There are times you want to do this, yeah. But instead of doing this, the best way, because now trying to do this is kind of very rough, right? You're guessing. Not really guessing, but it's going to be tedious because you never have a perfect selection. Never, right? So the best way to get this done is to, so let me just delete my mask here, is to always get the portion you want to keep selected first. Okay. Get the portion you want to keep selected first. So by getting your selection tool here, and either select this plus icon here and click on the portions you want to have selected, so you get a perfect job done like that. So I'm just clicking and allowing, click, allow, or you can click and drag, but make sure you do that within the portion you want to keep. Like now, I've selected what I don't want, this portion here, so I'll just do Ctrl Z to go back, right? This is why I don't like clicking and drag it, so that it does still selected that. I can now get the -1 here and click inside and drop the size of my brush like that. Click and drag inside. You can click and drag to remove the portions you want to remove like that. Get back the plus and click, or I can just click and drag like that. Again, click and drag like this. All right. So in case you don't like the selection and you want to remove these matching hands, go to select option here on the menu items here and take the select. You're just going to select that. Okay, but standardly what I'll just do is I'll go to my quick selection tool here and take select subject like this. Then so it takes some time. Photoshop takes some time to get that done. So if I zoom in, notice that the corners are not too good. Like if I come here, there's some portions that Photoshop has missed out. So we'll see how to refine this tomorrow. Now, okay, let's say Photoshop has done its job right. You can now continue with the adjustment with your quick selection tool here. Make sure you have plus. So you want to add this portion here, right? Make sure you have plus, drop the size of your brush, and you can just come in and click it to add like that. Okay, so you can go around and look for the portions you want to add. You can add that. So we'll see all of these things tomorrow. Then notice here, this portion here is the wall here, right? You don't want to have this there, so you can get minus here and get your quick selection tool, but now still minus, and just take that away like that. Okay, then when that's done, you can now click on this here and have that done. Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, so that's it for that's that for this what we have to do today on selection. So let's just quickly do a quick let's see something on me. So let's quickly do a quick design. Okay, so I'll create a new document. So I want to create a square, so I'll change my unit of measurement to pixels. I'll do 2000 by 2000 pixels, and I'll make sure my resolution here is 72, and I'll click on create. So the first thing I want to do is I'll get my type 2, and I'll just type let's see, I'll make sure this is not all caps. So I'm going to use Poppins. This is a typeface. Okay, and I'm expecting you guys to look for it. It's available on Google Fonts. So you just type Poppins fonts download, you find it. Yeah, this is fonts.google.com. So if you click here, you would find it here. All right. So I'll just do this, and I'll see stream. Okay, so I'll just do this, send this to White. Then I can set this to center like this, center aligned. Okay, then I'll create a new solid color here. Let's do blue. Let's see. Yeah, change this color to white. Then now I'll create a few shapes. So the first one is let's take this up a little bit. So I'll create the first one, a rectangle like this, and I'll make it a little bit rounded like that. Right, and I'm going to copy this rectangle here, and I'll just change the color just for the sake of visibility, so you can see what I'm doing. So I'll drop its size like this. I'll have this one here. Okay, no, duplicate me, please. Yeah, I'll sort that like this. That's why. All right, so I can come here and now I'll click on this shape here. Okay, now bring in this first guy here. Okay, bring him in. I want to remove him from the background. So normally we would clip him to this image here, clip him to this shape here. But before doing that, I want us to remove the background first. So what do? You go to your quick selection tool, take select subject like that. Just hold over Photoshop to do its job. And click on mask. Okay, so you now have something like this, right? Then you can now clip him to that object, okay? Stuff like that. So I'll clip him there. Then I can change the color of this shape here to what? White, of course, white. Or let's say let's go to blue here. Let's take a light version of blue. It's like this. Okay. And I'll take away the stroke of this shape. So go to the next shape, this one here. Let's go to look for another image. Which one should we take? Let's take this guy. Again, remove it from the background. Like that. Okay. Then now create a clipping mask. And how do you create a clipping mask? Right click on it and take create clipping mask. Like that. So I just transform this guy now. Like this. Then go to that shape, take away the stroke. No stroke. Then I think we can change this color as well. Yep. Then let's do the last one. This one big. This guy. And do the same thing. Okay. So I'm just going to transform here. So you can transform this anyhow you want. So I think, yeah, I don't want to show the truthful. So I think this looks good already. Then take away the stroke. I don't need that stroke. Like that. And I can decide to change the color, but I think I like the color, okay. Yeah. And I can just have something like our instructors or something like that. It's not really matter, but yeah, I just have that our instructors. Then I think I should drop the size of this, make everything caps, then drop the weight to something like light. Yeah. So I would have this centered like that. I'll have this centered as well. Yeah, something very simple. Very simple like this. And at the end of the design, I can just add the end. Balance, creative, studio. So we are gradually diving into the interesting part of this training. Okay, so most of you are saying I'm just showing you these little things, and these are the small things that we would use throughout this training. Okay, throughout the training. So now we're already looking at masking, selection and masking, and this is something you use throughout your life as a designer. You use it every day. Okay. Alright guys, so I think that's it for this video. So this is your assignment, okay? Get this stuff done. I might even decide to add a very subtle drop shadow to all of these to all of these things here. Very subtle, by just dropping this dropping the opacity. Make it very, very subtle. So this is before, after. As if nothing is there, but it's there, okay? And I think we do this a lot as designers. We make our shadows very subtle. And we'll see all of these things in design theory, where we get to explain some things, why some things work and why some things do not work. Alright. And I can decide to add one last thing to add depth to this design. Let's see. No, I think that's that. Let me not complicate for now. Yeah, so if you have any questions, do let me know. So this is your assignment for next class, okay? This is your assignment. I want you to get this stuff done. Alright, so if there are any questions, do let me know on the group, and see you guys in the next class.